welcome to Chatz, a television podcast, season 9, Better Off Chatz. My name is Alan, and I'm joined by a guy who loves opposite over adjacent angles. It's Magellan.
Hey, I just, I really thought something would come to me.
Did you say anything there? I thought the call
No,
dropped. And
no.
It just went silent? That's awesome.
It's silence, yeah.
That was so good.
Yeah, I think the thing about opposite angles as opposed to adjacent is you just know more about them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you mind if I over-explain my own joke here?
Okay.
So in the episode, I believe it's Phil and or Lem who says, he's like the angle opposite the hypotenuse. He's always right.
Right.
Opposite over adjacent is tangents. So you love tangents because you talk on the podcast. You say good words good.
And if I loved adjacent over opposite, that's not even a thing.
Magellan?
That's the cotangent.
Magellan?
Right? What?
In the math version of Seinfeld, who plays Kramer? Adjacent to Alexander? Not Kramer, the other guy.
I thought the joke was Seinfeld, like S-I-N-E.
Oh my god, it's called Seinfeld, and he's adjacent to Alexander.
That's good.
Cosine Mo Kramer? There's jokes
That's
in it. There's
good.
definitely
That's good.
Jokes.
That's good. That's good. You can explore a lot more of trigonometry to get some more words out of there. Like secant. Somebody's a secant.
Yeah, the secant Nazi. I can't. I try so hard, listener. Every week I do my absolute darndest to just get one good real laugh out of Magellan. That's my entire success as a podcaster. And
What's
I've already gone
Elaine's
like 3.
last name? Elaine Bennis.
That's like me saying penis.
There's something in that, but I don't have the vocabulary.
Is he really
Anyway,
Bennis?
welcome.
Oh, it's
Bennis.
Bennis.
It's Bennis.
Bennis.
Oh man, welcome to Better Off Chats, everybody. It's the show where we watch 2 episodes of Better Off Ted every week, and this week is no different. We did it. We watched 2 episodes of Better Off Ted. You can keep doing the intro.
There's nothing weird about this week whatsoever, Magellan. No, but thank you for teeing up the intro for me.
Yeah, we're just
hey,
recording
guys.
this on a normal Tuesday, right before the Sunday that it comes out.
Mm-hmm.
And if you somehow determine what's particular about this Tuesday that's adding to our sense of maybe delirium and loopiness, that just means you're a good detective.
You're paying attention.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you. We watched 2
Proud of you
episodes
too.
of Better Off Ted. They are season 1, episodes 11 and 12. Father, Can You Hear Me? And Jabberwocky. We'll be joined by a guest for Jabberwocky, but first, we're talking about episode 11. Father, Can You Hear Me? This episode was written by Michael Glauberman. It was directed by Michael Fresco. It's Big Mike. Mike and Mike make a Mike or something. Michael and Michael have issues. Directed by... Oh, I said that. It originally aired July 21st, 2009. And Magellan, can you please tell me what happened in this episode?
In this episode, Veronica has an awkward reconciliation with her father after she finds out that he has a year to live. And Ted wants Phil and Lem to rush testing for a hair growing formula so he can give it to his dad for his birthday. Alan, what do you think of Father, Can You Hear Me?
I'm not sure exactly. I am sure that we're going to work through it here, but this episode's like set up, and the Veronica dad stuff, I think I had higher expectations for than the episode lived up to. But the rest of it is like a serviceable Better Off Ted episode. It hits all the beats, and we learn about everybody's parents, which I didn't think I cared about at all. Usually daddy and mommy issues are reserved for like teens to mid-20s in TV, but now we have a bunch of 30 and 40-year-old adults who are like, my dad never loved me. And that's its own whole box of turnips, which I think, leads, again, to some really good comedy, but I just wanted a little bit more, and sometimes Better Off Ted's commitment to not being overly sincere is refreshing, but also kind of tiring. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Tell me more.
So, Veronica and her father Is That's sort of the A plot of the episode, right? Her dad comes back. We learned that the two of them compete with each other in their businesses by stealing each other's ideas, and it's this sort of wonderful parental game of cat and mouse where they steal folders and they take pictures of stuff illegally, and then they put their ideas to market before the other person does, and that's their game. It makes sense that Veronica grew up in a competitive environment where she's told that she's not good enough all the time and has to fight for it. Um, but he tells her eventually that he's dying, and you think that this is going to be the moment where Veronica almost cracks a little bit and becomes like a human being. But again, the show commits to being like, no, it's sort of like she is a person, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I think what you can sort of draw from this episode is a somewhat cynical interpretation of like your adult relationship with your parents. And I think there's some shows that, might go for the more hopeful thing of like you can forge a new relationship, and this show is going for more like, yeah, it's sort of set in stone. It is what it is. And the characters kind of like come to terms with that in this episode in a way that I think has a sort of reaffirmingness or hopefulness to it, but yeah, it is kind of cynical at its core, I think, which is maybe what we're feeling in this particular plot.
Yeah, because what we're learning from everybody else's parent plots is that even as adults, your upbringing really does define a lot of who you are, what your values are, like what kind of person you grew up to be. And we see in each of these people like why they're driven, why they are rebellious. In the case of Linda, like all this stuff. Phil and Lem having like different views of their parents. I think that stuff is really great. But again, with Veronica's dad, I don't know. I enjoyed it. I did sincerely think that their sort of cat and mouse is fun. And I'm not suggesting that I wanted them to actually hug it out. I think this is the sincere version of their reconciliation, right? Is one last grift on her dad.
Yeah, I think what they sort of come to terms with is like their father-daughter relationship is not like what might be a sort of typical ideal of a father-daughter relationship, but it's actually ideal for them. And in that final moment, Ted's narration is like, oh, Veronica had decided what relationship she wants with her father, and it was up to him to see if he wanted it too or whatever. And so she lays out the bait for him to steal an idea and screws him over. And that kind of affirms that like this is just what works for them. It's not necessarily what you, the viewer, might consider a particularly healthy relationship, but it's what keeps them connected to each other in a way that's genuine for them.
Right. And the fact that I'm like, oh my God, that's such a like unfortunate relationship just comes from the fact that I've seen a harmful parental relationships in real life. And so like seeing it there, you're like, this is probably bad that you guys like are actively fighting against each other, but it motivates both of them and they're both into it. So in a way it's good. In a way it's healthy to them. And so Ted sees that and he says, man, I really wish I had a stable relationship with my dad, and like becomes this woe is me character of I just want to impress my dad. Why do I want to impress him? And we get some flashbacks to his backstory, all framed exactly the same way, where it's a kid presenting his dad with something, and then the dad is like head under some pipes. His father's a plumber, and he's never impressed. It's pretty dated of an idea that plumbers aren't like successful men. Because sort of the joke here is that like Ted is bringing home his MBA. Hey, shout outs to him. He's bringing home like all these big jobs, and he's like, I'm so successful. And his dad's like, when are you going to learn to work with piping? And sort of the irony there is that plumbers don't make a lot of money, which is untrue, which is like patently untrue. Plumbers are highly successful, but I think he's still playing in the space of like, the plumber is the big tubby guy who works under the sink and then gets paid $1 million or gets like paid something,
Yeah, I think it was an odd choice to me to make his dad a plumber, because I guess what they're going for is they're trying to go for some kind of inversion or subversion of like, oh, your dad works a successful job and you want to start a band, and your dad's like, when are you going to get your your act together. But
Yeah.
the joke is that Ted is actually going to be a successful businessman. But like you're saying, it doesn't fully work because that is kind of a outdated view of plumbers, I suppose. And also it just ends up reinforcing the show. I feel like the show does have a sort of like I don't know if elitism is the word, but it does feel that moment feels elitist to a certain extent. Like it doesn't feel like we're making fun of Ted for looking down on his dad. It feels like we are looking down on his dad.
The
For
way that's
being a
framed,
sort of-
especially.
Yeah, for being a sort of like salt of the earth guy, blue collar guy. So I don't know, it was just weird. But the guy who played his dad was pretty funny, and I did like how he like comes out and he's like, "When are you gonna make something useful like a toupee that doesn't fall off my head when I go into the sink or whatever?"
Yeah, and it's presented as this like reveal of like, oh, that's why Ted in the present is so motivated to get Phil and Lem to finish developing this hair regeneration, as he wants to give his dad hair, like give him something that he could never give him before.
It is funny at the end of the day that his dad is so different from him. And I think the scene works in a way that reminded me of like, I Think You Should Leave a little bit, where,
Sure.
like the TC Tuggers thing where it's like, yeah, it's a shirt and you pull on the shirt and it gets, your shirt bunches up or whatever. Like it's that kind of thing where he's talking about his toupee. But yeah, I think it's important to be cognizant of that sort of like white collar elitism that feels baked into the show a little bit.
It's a really common thing, unfortunately, in a lot of business environments, is that sort of like, oh, this is what jobs are, right? Is you work in an office and you work on a team. And here's how in my business school perspective, what we talk about when we talk about business like jobs is white collar work. They never talk about what a blue collar job is like. Learning how to be a better manager doesn't apply necessarily to like working at Dunkin' Donuts all the time, like in a local branch, or running a plumbers union, like stuff like that. It doesn't. Those skills don't transfer over. So it's a very different field. But you see, like I said, so many different stories within Verdian dynamics this episode. In terms of like how people get there and like how, like I said earlier, how their parents influence them. So we talked about Veronica and how her father, who I thought I recognized, but I looked up the actor.
Yeah, me too.
I didn't recognize the actor's name is Jeff Pearson. And I don't know him from anything in particular. There's no like, you guys know him from this thing. He's just a character actor. But he does stand toe-to-toe with Portia de Rossi really well. Like, they just have this guy who's just like, hey, she's going to throw lines at me, and I'm going to throw them right back at her. Like, I'm not going to... You could have very easily portrayed this as, like, she's mean to him the way that she's mean to her grandmother. But instead, it's like, no, like, her dad is exactly as cold-hearted as she is and prepared to do all this nasty stuff to her. But we mostly see things from her side. We don't dwell on him too much. They do get some good comedy out of, like... she doesn't believe that he's dying at first, and then a lawyer comes in and whispers to her like, yes, he's dying, and she's like, oh, you're dying? Like, it just took somebody double checking for her to be like, wait, and they really make you believe that it's going to be a heartfelt moment where she's like, oh no, but it really turns into like, oh no, I need to destroy him one more time. I need to give him this hair regeneration tech, and even though it's broken.
It's a pretty fun montage when you see them like try to bond in a normal father-daughter way, and like he puts his arm around her at the park, but then the people they're looking at turn out to be like this May-December romance, and they start making out or whatever. And then one of my favorite
term?
May-December romance.
Yeah, what is that?
Oh, you don't know that?
No, I'm not familiar.
That's when it's like an older person and a younger person are in a relationship because it's like May and December in the year, like
middle of your life and late in your life.
Yeah.
Interesting. Wow. You learn a new term every day.
Yeah, I think it's just broadly used to describe a relationship where there's like a large age gap.
Age difference. Sure. Okay.
But and then there's one of my favorite little visual jokes of the episode is when they play frisbee with each other and they keep trying to throw it underhand. And they're just both like frustrated and bad at it. It's pretty good.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But he definitely has a face of like, do I know you? but
I just figured it out right now. He looks like the brother from Better Call Saul. That actor is in a lot of stuff. He's sort of like a more severe version of that guy.
Another show with the word "better" in the title, huh?
Yeah, Better Call Off Ted. Michael McKean is the actor I'm thinking of. So if you look him up, maybe, or he was Mr. Green in Clue, but he's very young in that movie, so you might not see it as much. But I digress. I think the best Linda and her dad.
Oh yeah.
See it a little bit, like he's kind of a sharper version of that guy.
Yep.
No, the best line is when she finds out that he's trying to steal something from her again, and then I believe she talks about like we're working on like ligament or body part removal surgery. She's like, well, I want his knees, and I couldn't stop thinking of that like old. I think it's Escape Chat's intro you did, and I don't know if someone can confirm this for us, but where you were like, "Give me those juicy knees, give me those," or maybe it's like a Freaks Chats bit.
I don't remember.
It's somewhere in the miasma of like funny Magellan voices that have never left my brain for some that live in my brain rent free. It's just Magellan going, "Give me those juicy knees. Like, you're gonna steal my knees." It's weird.
That's funny.
But yeah, that stuff ends up working pretty fine. And then so he steals the hair growth technique, and then it turns out she let him because it's broken and doesn't work good. It grows little Cabbage Patch Kid hairs on top of everything. I learned a new word. Speaking of May December romance, I also learned about overspray, which is what Phil describes it when you spray something and then all of the particles that come out of it.
Is that a thing, or did they just kind of like
That's absolutely a thing. I googled it. That's that has its own Wikipedia page, I believe. The concept of overspray.
Overspray.
Yeah, it's just like when you spray something, everything that's around it. In this case, grows hair. So like Ted's desk grows hair. I think it's kind of funny that instead of like in the Ted's desk gags are so good when he's like shaving his desk, and then Veronica comes in and she's like, "Ted, are you shaving your desk?" And he's like, "It's not going to shave itself, Veronica."
And the joke before that was a little not so great, but I did like it where he's like, "It looks just like this girl I used to know." And then there's
what was that?
Yeah, that sucks. But then the punchline of it where he's like, it's hard to explain, but yes, she did look like a desk with hair. It's like his delivery of that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
But it does kind of suck a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Like it being like this girl I used to know. It's like, why is that how it's framed? I don't know. But anyway.
Yeah, I feel briefly though, the other like parental relationships we hear about, the one I thought that was the most like side story funny was that Linda's family just love each other very much and are so caring.
God, people like that are the worst, huh? When like it's like, oh, we have this like perfect family and all these Christmas photos and everybody.
Every year we rent an RV and go across the country. What are you saying?
Sucks. No,
God,
thank
that
you.
sucks.
No, thank you. Just have a normal family that like generally gets along, but there's some sort of underlying dysfunction, you know? Come on.
Well, I think what makes hers funny to me is that she has this amazing, caring family, and she's still the rebel who hates her job, hates her boss, and hates everyone she works with. Like
Interesting. Yeah.
Where does that sprout from? Sort of like the so many hairs in this episode. Phil has a pretty supportive dad who loves him, which is nice.
Then the whole sequence where Ted goes down and first talks to them, and he's like, "Oh man, Linda's family's so supportive," or whatever. And Phil and Lem both have like really, really supportive dads. Is super funny to me.
It's like I don't know why. I think I reference this a lot just because it's a touch point for the two of us, but it did feel like a Simpsons joke when Phil's like, "Yeah, my dad thought he loved me and supported me through school and everything." And then Lem is like, "Yeah, my dad died when I was 3." And then Ted is like, "Aw," and he's like, "Yeah, because he was saving people from a burning bus, and so I know that he loved me and it'll be everlasting, and I appreciate that forever."
That's awesome.
Like, if Ted was Homer, you would hear "Don't" there.
And then I really liked the sort of like hidden tag on that joke is when Ted, is like, "Oh, this isn't what I asked you guys to do," or whatever. And Phil immediately jumps to, yes, we failed you. Stop screaming at us when he's not screaming at them. I thought that was so funny. And that just furthers your understanding of like Phil's typical relationship with a parental figure, where even the slightest hint of disapproval from Ted and he starts to completely panic.
Yeah.
So I like that the episode, both shows like, oh, some people just are like, my family's super normal, but then also is very clear about the fact that like that can mess you up too, or that can be not great parenting too sometimes. Just like
Right,
what
exactly.
Ted does with Rose, actually.
Yeah, there's a brief side plot in this episode about Rose trying to run for class president, I guess. She says a great line where, what was it? It was like the previous class president is always like, he's being weird, and also he always calls the teacher mommy, which...
Yeah, he ate pencils and called the teacher mommy.
The teacher mommy. Every single day called the teacher mommy. Like, that's a good...
Yeah.
That's a good...
You ever done that? Did you ever do that?
No, I mean, it's in the same ballpark as like telling the person at movie theater, like when they say enjoy the movie, you say you too. But
Yeah.
I think the mommy thing's it's much more embarrassing. And if I did it, I've blocked it out successfully. So.
I've done it. I think I've done it twice. I think I did it once in like 5th grade and once earlier than that with a substitute teacher.
That's rough.
Yeah, that's the real rough one, is when you call a substitute teacher mom. But
Sokka voice, or Zuko voice, that's rough, buddy. I really wanted to shout. I know we're not just gonna like jump around on lines here, but because we were just talking about Phil and Lem, and when he's like, "Why can't you guys grow like you guys are such brilliant mad scientists?" Because they grow hair on a potato, and it looks like Mr. Potato Head. And then Phil goes, "We're not mad scientists, Ted, regardless of what our bowling shirts might say."
That's a really good line.
Just you don't have to cut away. Like another show that's less confident in that delivery would cut away to that, but they're like, no, you get it, you understand, you can see the blue and black striped t-shirts and all that.
Yeah, Phil and Lem, when they're not the focus of a plot, and like when they don't have to kind of have a falling out and reconcile, and they're just like comedy engines, they're so funny. Like anything that comes out of both of them, they completely know their characters. They deliver every single line pitch perfect. Like other people I think have shakier deliveries. Portia de Rossi sometimes has like really weird line deliveries that don't make sense.
Yeah.
But those guys, every single line that comes out of their mouth is like the funniest way they could have said it. It's really so good.
We actually got via the moderator of the Better Off Ted subreddit. Shout outs to you. I don't have your username in front of me right now, but they sent me a video that was from an AMA that those two actors did in 2011, mostly about Better Off Ted, but also like about their careers in general. And they have such a fun chemistry. It's actually it's quite different from Phil and Lem. Obviously they aren't just these characters, but they clearly like each other a lot. And Phil is a lot more out as a gay man in real life, and the guy who plays Malcolm Barrett, the guy who plays Lem, is like a little bit more serious. Like he does a lot of jokes and is like a gag machine, but he also like, talks about hip hop and his like favorite rap music a lot, and like quotes, artists that he likes a lot. So they're quite different from their characters, but they definitely have that chemistry off camera, which I think is essential to this stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
You mentioned the like Veronica, or rather the Portia de Rossi like weird line delivery, and the one that I thought of in this episode was when she was talking about trying to feel something. I wish I had the line exactly. LN Magic is the moderator who sent me that AMA clip, by the way. Thank you, LN Magic on Reddit. No, the Veronica line was something about like, oh, I need to feel something right now. Sad. Oh, we're gonna talk about feelings now. Okay. Sad. There. It had to be felt. Like that, and that line's supposed to be super awkward, and it works, right?
Yeah.
But it sometimes like they lean into it, and sometimes it just feels like she's trying to say a normal line and she says it weirdly.
Sometimes she just emphasizes the wrong word, and I don't know if it's a choice or what. I don't know, but yeah. Anyway, I just keep noticing like little lines where it's happening.
Yeah.
I do like the way that she says anything.
I wonder. Well, that might just be her Australian coming through. Australian.
Oh,
Yeah.
maybe that's
She's
why
suppressing
she
an
emphasizes
accent.
different words.
Yeah.
That makes sense. All right, I won't start. I won't keep ragging on Portia de Rossio, and she does a great job.
Thank you to all our Aussie listeners out there. Hi Ryan, and hopefully maybe Rachel. Anyways, one of the like I said earlier, Linda talks about her RV family trips, and they do this like dog mayor gag at the end of the episode or towards the end of the episode that I was so impressed with because they committed to the bit where she talks about like one of the
they show that at the end.
Yeah, it's so brief. One of the cool
Fucking
things.
Hulu, man. Hulu is so annoying because it jumps to the next episode in the middle of the credits, and Better Off Ted has like credits gags. I didn't even see this.
Yeah, she's
I'm
talking
so
about like,
sad.
no, it's okay. You can go back and watch it. It's right there for you. No, he's sad.
I'm gonna.
I'm also watching
Switch and watch it on my Switch while you say things.
Gross. I'm also watching on Hulu. I just tell it don't play the credits or whatever. Like, don't skip episodes.
I don't know how to do that.
Well, your brain is the size of...
It's the size of a brain. Go ahead. Sorry, talk about the dog thing. I'm pulling it up.
Okay, sure. She is talking about how one of the coolest things is that there's a town in America that has a dog for a mayor. She says, so much going on in this country. No wonder America's trying to eat itself, which was weirdly prescient.
Veronica's dad says, yeah.
Or Veronica's dad says that, excuse me, yeah.
Yeah, that line is 100% true.
Yes. And Linda talks about the dog mayor, and then they show at the very end, I think it's Ted who like is holding a pamphlet in like really bad papyrus font with like, check out the dog mayor of Indiana. And I was like, whoa, why someone made that? Like some production assistant or whatever was like, all right, I got to make the dog mayor thing for a 5-second gag. Okay, this is my job. Shout out to whoever did that.
Yeah, we love you.
Yeah, we love you personally very much. Thank you.
Personally.
But that's pretty much the episode. It kind of goofs around for a little bit. It's a funny one. It's got some lines here and there that are good.
Yeah. It's got some good laughs. I think we've had some episodes that have been kind of meh. I think this one is not like a shining star, but it's like a pretty funny episode. And if this was someone's first episode of Better Off Ted, I think they'd be like, yeah, this is a funny show.
I get it. Yeah. The only thing that's disappointing is the Viridian Dynamics ad, which is an attack ad against Digivation, which I really want to hear more about. Maybe in season 2. I doubt we're going to. But when they're talking about like Digivation, they just want to hurt you. Do you want to be hurt? No. Viridian Dynamics.
I think there weren't enough beats for the joke. Like, I really liked the line, since Digivation was founded 50 years ago, millions have died. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
But then there wasn't more. I wanted more jokes.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm at the end of the episode. Hold on. Is this what mud pies are?
Yes.
Oh. He's giving his dad a tie and a mud pie. That's really, really, really fucking cute. Where's the dog mayor? There's no dog mayor.
Oh, maybe it was before. It's right before that. It's right before that scene.
Right before that scene.
It's the scene before that one, yeah?
No, it's not. I think you imagine this. He steals the project, the hair growth project.
Uh-huh. Go further back.
Puts it in his... Further back? Oh, he's holding it? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I just was not even looking at the screen. That's on me. Oh, papyrus
like it did
font.
come up, you just didn't
Papyrus
see it.
Font. Okay, all right.
Font, yeah.
Okay, that wasn't Hulu's fart. That wasn't Hulu's fault. That was my fault. So I take full responsibility. I'm sorry.
You were going to issue a full apology?
Formal apology to Hulu. I know that you had in your 5-year plan to get some promotion going on Chatz, and then you deleted that out of your 5-year plan. I implore you to Control Z and find it in your hearts to.
We need to record only on Tuesday nights because Magellan's energy right now, y'all, is amazing.
It's one of those days where I took a nap in the afternoon that just
you're in
made
a different dimension.
It gave me that combination feeling of like tired and fully rested. Like my eyes are so tired and my body is completely awake. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
It sucks. I have more stuff from this episode if we're about to move
Biff,
from it.
biff.
I think we got to give props to Rose. I think she does a great job in this one. She delivers some really funny lines pretty effectively. She gives her campaign speech and she says, "Hi, I'm Rose. Vote for me, please. Thank you. You're welcome.
Freaking perfect. Thank you. You're welcome. Yeah, amazing. That's it. That's all I needed.
Really,
I'm gonna vote for you.
Really well done. And then she does a great job. Like this is a line that's like precocious to the point where it breaks the fiction a little bit, but where she says, "I'm gonna go take a bath, maybe color a little, unwind." Adorable. She crushes it. It's really funny.
She does. I loved it. I forgot about those lines.
Yeah.
All my notes are about the Veronica and her dad stuff. I totally forgot that there's like a whole decent Rose plot line buried in this one.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't use Rose in the show as much as I would like them to. I think the pilot and reading the background of the show sells you on the idea that like Ted's home life or Ted's identity as a dad is like a central component of the show.
Right.
And it sort of is, but you don't see it enough, in my opinion, for the contrast to be stark enough. I just want to see more of it.
It's getting stark like Tony.
What's the next line? Hold on, you can't just start a freestyle and stop it. Getting stark like Tony.
Gotta make a beat like with my homie.
Okay. Got mixing shark in my macaroni.
Shorty's gonna be the Michelle to my Romy.
Okay.
They were friends. They had a high school reunion. That line doesn't work. Unless you just want to be friends with the girl, that's totally fine.
Yeah, I think that's what this song is about. It's like, it's not a love song, it's not a sex song. It's like, can't we just form a healthy relationship with a member of the opposite sex?
Yeah.
Or a member of the group of people we're attracted to.
There it is.
Come on now.
Come on, buddy. Let's take it to the second half.
I refuse. All right, let's do it.
Whoa. No, you refuse. We have to stay. I'm not hitting stop.
Wait, one last line. Gimme. One last line. I did laugh both at the part where Phil is like, testes.
Yes.
Lem's like, you said testes, and Phil's like, oh my god, that's so funny. And then when I was pretty uncomfy with Ted when he was trying to push past protocol and get them to like break laws and stuff. Can't do that, Ted.
That's illegal, Ted. Come on.
That's illegal, Ted. Ted does some illegal stuff in both episodes, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Lem's like, hey, first we have to test it on a rat, then a bat, then for some reason a hat. That was good.
It's very good.
That was good. And then it was nice to see Lem like very confidently stand up to Ted. I was happy that Phil and Lem weren't corrupted in this one. It made what Ted was doing even more clearly out of the norm,
Mm-hmm.
So it's good character stuff.
Good stuff for sure.
All right, that's all I got. Well met for the horde. Okay, let's go.
Oh my god! We'll be right back after we got to pay the bills. We got to get a brief message from our friends at Viridian Dynamics.
Yeah, who's our fucking sponsor?
It's always Viridian Dynamics, baby. And then we'll be back with a guest who can hopefully rein in my co-host as we discuss Jabberwocky.
Impossible.
It's not possible.
Possible.
Viridian Dynamics. The environment. Everyone likes it, and so we do too. That's why we're committed to saving it. Viridian Dynamics is turning every one of our buildings 100% green. It's ridiculously expensive, and spending money makes us sad. But we're doing it because we love nature. Even when it's being mean, or just acting stupid. Viridian Dynamics. Greening our world.
Welcome back to Better Off Chats. It's still me. Magellan's still here. Alan, you're here too, still.
Somehow, I decided I'd come back for one more, like a sort of reunion tour.
The last episode of Chats. They couldn't even finish Better Off Ted.
Better off finishing the show early, more like it.
Oh, boy. Let's not air our dirty laundry out in the open like this.
Yet.
Yet, of course, we all know the last episode of Chatz will be the horrible knockdown drag out fight where
we're just like we're trying to talk about the Lex finale, but we're like, ugh, and you
it's just
said
the worst breakup you've ever heard in your whole life.
I love it. I love it, and I'm ready for it.
It's gonna end with me throwing my microphone out the window at you.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. Oh, I don't want to even live in that fiction for even a moment.
I'd rather live in the fiction where we talk about Better Off Dead with a friend.
Yeah, me too. So let's do it. Let's bring somebody into this little situation that we got going here. Nope. I was gonna say polyamorous podcast pal, but even the alliteration doesn't salvage that. So let me rewind. Oh yeah, yeah. Let's do it. Let's bring somebody else into this whole thing that we're doing. Okay.
Into this hole. Just say it. Into this hole.
Into this hole. Into this pit that we've dug for ourselves. Alan, introduce this fine feathered friend.
For this episode, we opened up the cage for our fine feathered friend. They're actually a guy who
Bonesaw is ready. That's my other obscure Spider-Man 1 reference.
Yeah. No, that one's more well-known. That's like a meme.
Yeah, I guess so.
We're joined here by the guy who once got kicked out of the zoo for giving a monkey a cigarette. It's Arthur from Full Metal Analysts. It's
me. I'm here. The monkey didn't want the cigarette, but I gave it to him anyway.
Oh, well, that's okay. I guess that's fine.
Someday I want to do a podcast improv game where we do the intro to a podcast over and over, and the joke is that the audio keeps dying. We have to do it all over, and we have to see if, like, by take 10, it's still funny. That's a good improv game idea.
That's good. We're already on take 2. Just to lift the curtain.
I have to say, I think I'm already doing better. I think I'm already doing much better.
Yeah, the first time that we pitched you that monkey joke, you were just like, and walked out of the room. So this is an improvement.
I threw my keyboard.
Yeah, Arthur. Let me ask you a question real quick. I made a reference to the Sam Raimi classic Spider-Man 1, and it's now become a running joke that I reference a particular line from that film. I'm wondering if you're familiar with it.
Is it pizza time?
What's pizza
even
time?
better. Even better.
What's pizza time?
Isn't that from Spider-Man 2?
Yeah, he delivers the pizza in Spider-Man 2.
Is it? Oh no, is it? Hey everyone. Is it hey everyone?
No. It's so there's a part where Aunt May is like in the hospital and she's doing the Lord's Prayer, and then the Green Goblin busts in through the ceiling and it's really scary. And then she's like stuck in the middle of it and can't speak anymore. And then he goes, "Finish it!"
From evil. Yeah. What I remember about that scene is that he just terrorizes the heck out of Aunt May. Yeah. And then that scene is never really referenced or dealt with the whole rest of the movie.
No. Of course not. Of course not. Well, we're also never going to deal with that for the rest of this episode, but I just wanted to get your take on that. But hey, welcome, Arthur. We're so happy to have you here. We were just recently on your podcast, Full Metal Analyst. It's a Full Metal Alchemist podcast.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, it was quite fun. It, I believe, just came out a few days ago. So this is, the second part. If you want to understand the full crossover event, if you want to understand why, Superman's dead and Wonder Woman is now an alien, or I don't know, whatever, you have to listen to every single podcast episode to get the full story before we release the giant-sized crossover episode. But you can check us out there, and Arthur's here with us today, talking about Better Off Ted. And I'm curious.
Hey, Alan sent me a friend request on Facebook.
Whoa!
Just now.
Making connections. What are you gonna do?
That was nice.
You say yes?
No.
Well, I'm gonna think about it.
That's nice.
I don't want to make a comment about Arthur's appearance, but you're very handsome, and also you're the spitting image of Magellan's roommate Charlie.
That's
white
really
guys
funny.
with beards. White guys
true.
with beards.
That's really funny.
That's
so
right.
Arthur and I have known each other since college. Just like we've both known roommate of the pod, Charlie, since college as well. It's funny that you say that, Alan, because I always think of Arthur as looking like me, kind of, or if there's something there that's similar.
I think I'm
don't
kind
know.
of in between.
I think you are in between me and Charlie. I think that's true. Yeah.
That he's the second evolution, like in the Pokemon metaphor.
Yeah, he's the war turtle of
Ugh.
whatever it is that's going on with us.
Sure.
But I don't think Charlie's the Squirtle. I don't think I am either. It's like if Blastoise turned into Ivysaur and then into Charizard. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Oh, sure.
Anyway. So we're here talking about Better Off Ted. Arthur, I'm curious to hear your personal history with the show Better Off Ted, since you have seen it before, or at least some of it before, right?
Yeah. So, I'm sorry, I can't do this again.
Can't do it again.
What are you talking about?
I just got the. All right. Okay. All right.
What just happened? It sounded like you got vertigo or something. You good?
I just had some weird deja vu for some reason, almost like I did this. I've done this all before, and someone lost all the audio. Okay, here I go again.
Okay.
So I actually started watching this off of Magellan's recommendation.
Wait, hold on a second.
Yeah.
You're telling me. Sorry, folks. We're like really cracking ourselves up because we're trying to recreate some talking points from the first time we recorded this intro. But I was genuinely surprised in the lost tapes to hear that Arthur watched Better Off Ted because of me, when I watched Full Metal Alchemist because of him. But the horrible thing is,
that
yeah,
I recommended Full Metal Alchemist to Magellan. Magellan recommended Better Off Ted to me. I watched Better Off Ted like that weekend. Magellan watched Full Metal Alchemist
like last weekend.
Like last weekend.
This is big Hamilton
5
energy.
years later.
Hamilton read it 3 years later.
So, yeah, Magellan missed his shot, if you will.
I screwed up. I do want to issue
the Hamilton parlance.
I do want to issue a formal apology for that. I'm very sorry, Arthur. I should have watched it.
Thank you. And may I say your apology was even nicer to hear the second time.
It's probably because I didn't say screw you at the end of it like I did the first time.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to hear when you, like the great patient friend that you have always been and are continuing to prove yourself to be, when you watched that by my recommendation, what were your initial impressions about Better Off Ted, and what were you kind of bringing into this watch for this appearance on our show?
Right. So back in the far off year of 15, 14? It was
14, 15.
I liked it. I remember thinking it was funny, and I think I just fell off of it at some point because I forgot. But I remember really enjoying it then, and I feel like since that time, I don't know if the world has gotten darker or if the general zeitgeist perception of the world has gotten much darker, but there's been a darkening for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that coming into this watch, I almost came into it with the attitude of expecting this to feel very dated, because so I feel like Better Off Ted has this sort of feeling of, oh, we live in a horrible, dark corporate hellscape, but it's all good. Like, can't you see how absurd and funny it is?
Yeah. Yep.
Whereas now things are just only bad, and it feels a little less cool to be, a little less easy to genuinely laugh at. Isn't it kind of fucked up? But it's fine. It's funny. It's zany.
Yeah.
And so it was interesting to compare it with the show Corporate, which has a very similar premise to this one, but it, as sort of a post-2016 show, fully leans into that darkness.
Yeah.
Like, I think you could even see that in the opening. Like, the opening of Better Off Ted is like funny satire of corporate voice. Like kind of always sort of obliquely gesturing at terribleness. Like we're evil, kind of.
Wink.
And wink. And the soundtrack is very jazzy, tango-y, cheerful. Whereas corporate begins with people screaming, like heavy guitar, and like people smiling so hard that they're screaming at you, and I think that, so between the two, if one really kind of accurately captures the feeling of now, it's corporate, which I think would be really interesting to watch the pilots side by side. But that being said, I actually really enjoyed Better Off Ted a lot more than I thought. It was actually genuinely funny and fun, and honestly made me a little nostalgic for like Bush Obama era. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's I mean, there definitely is that transition that's happened in satire over the past 10, 20 years where I think people used to be content with the kind of like, I would lump Better Off Ted in with like Jon Stewart's Daily Show a little bit, where, you know, the tone, it's even more kind of like sweet, obviously, than that, because his whole thing was like, I'm just fucking exhausted and tired of all this stuff. But
Right.
there definitely was this tone with satire at that time of like, yeah, things are bad, but like things are fine. You know, we can laugh and it's okay. And now you've got like John Oliver, who's like, just so you know, here's what's going on, and I'm gonna like be very, very, very blunt about, you know, this particular situation or whatever.
Right. Yeah. There's no skating around it. Like, if we told you how bad things were, you'd be really sad. So we won't.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely want to check out corporate at some point. Sorry, I've been very quiet because I'm in the heat of it right now. But corporate seems like an interesting show, and I think Better Off Ted kind of differs from that and from Caucus Industries and other sort of Better Off Ted alike. But that's a podcast that was recommended to us. Is that Better Off Ted like knows the world is messed up and is fine just portraying it as that. Like, that's why we talked in the last segment about how Veronica as a character is just like, yeah, at her most sincere, most kind, she is still the least empathetic person on the show. And that's okay, because that's just how people are. And that's more honest than, like, you know, the sort of, like, think about something like a Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which is like, they're cops, but, like, they have a heart of gold, right? They're all wacky and funny. Like, you like them, and one of them's gay. Isn't that cool? And the show is like, no, but they do suck. And there's comedy to that. You can laugh and cry at the same time. This project is fake, and everyone knows it, and yet no one wants to say it. Isn't that hilarious? I think so.
Yeah, the show almost doesn't like aspire to anything. You know, it is pretty content to say like, they're, you know, kind of fake or don't care about stuff when they're at their jobs, but they go home and they're great dads, and, you know, it is what it is. It's not ideal, but it's
Right.
okay.
But they go home to their daughter who talks like an adult, and it's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the joke writing, like you're saying, Arthur, is just really solid. Like there's just some lines in here that are gut busters.
It's just so funny. This episode, I don't know if we're talking about this episode yet.
We are.
Okay.
I would love to. Why did you pick this one? You picked it. Actually, before I ask you that, I'm going to tell folks what episode it even is. Season 1, episode 12, Jabberwocky. It was written by Michael A. Ross, directed by Michael Fresco. And you heard right. You heard two Michaels there, just like you heard for episode 11. But you also heard right that one of those Michaels is a new Michael. So there were 3 Michaels, at least, on the creative team of Better Off Ted. At least 3 Michaels.
I feel bad for that PA who has to deliver sandwiches to that room, like Michael, and then oh my god, I can't believe I'm doing this bit again.
It's a good bit. It's a
something
bit.
Turkey sandwiches, mayonnaise, something
Right.
We all hate the sandwich.
We had this whole
So
bit
funny.
when our first go, and you know, you
don't
can't
over
recreate.
explain it. It's a bad bit.
You're a
Say it, you clown. I'm a bad bit. Say it.
You're a bad bit.
Now spit in my mouth.
We just had this thing of like, what if all these Michaels are hanging out, right? And
So the room is full with Michaels.
Okay.
Like the room
It's like
is
100 Michaels
fucking
dropped from a
Michaels,
helicopter.
Okay? It's half Michaels, and the PA comes in and he's like, "Sandwich for Michael," and they're all like, "Me," and he doesn't know which Michael to give the fucking sandwich to. Okay, that's the bit. That's the bit. And then we were like, okay, so then all the Michaels have to get the same sandwich order because they just have to agree to like, just to make things simpler. They just kind of give up.
All I want in this
then
life
it's like,
is
okay, I'll like 5 sandwiches. They're all the same. They go to 5 different Michaels. And then I was like, what if each Michael gets to pick one thing about the sandwich?
Oh, I've never heard Arthur so angry in my whole life.
That's the bit.
You're so mild-mannered, Arthur. That was incredible. So it's Jabberwocky. There's a lot of Michaels involved in it. It has nothing to do with the plot of the episode. It originally aired on August 11th, 2009. Alan, what happened in Jabberwocky?
Alan, what happened?
Come on, let's talk about the episode.
In this one, Ted steals money to give Linda a secret green project. When Veronica asks about the missing money, Ted tells her about a fictional revolutionary project called Jabberwocky, which soon becomes the talk of Viridian Dynamics.
So, Arthur, why'd you pick this one? You did it on purpose. You said, I want this one. Why'd you do that?
Yeah,
You pointed out a map and you said, that one's me.
Yeah. I thought it sounded like the most fun. I looked at the Wikipedia, and just the name Jabberwocky stuck out to me, because, it was my favorite poem as a kid. And, yeah. And then I looked at the description, and I was like, fake project? That sounds conceptual. And
Well, that sounds heady.
I do always go for the premises that are very conceptual. Like, you step back and you think about them as a whole, and you go, that's funny.
Yeah.
Which I've had mixed results, in terms of how much people like it when I do that in my own comedy, but I enjoy it.
Yeah,
So
and I think this episode is, it definitely demonstrates, I think, what's great and what's limited about approaching a plot in that way, because at least the Ted plot with the whole Jabberwocky thing is, I think, a really smart premise, basically saying like, oh, if you make up a fake project, everyone is going to like fall over themselves trying to get on it because they don't want to be the person who's like not in the know. Everybody's so desperate to sort of look competent at work, and they're willing to dupe other people or kind of overstate things. And everyone inside is like intensely anxious that they're on the verge of losing their job or whatever.
Right.
And I think that the episode renders that pretty well. But then it does go places where I was sort of like, okay, all right. I guess it's still cute, but it's a little smart.
Right. Where were those places for you?
Well, I guess it's okay to kind of give away the episode, but basically the general idea is that Ted sets up this fake project because he wants to give Linda the money to build a garden on the roof, and we can talk about the Linda stuff in a bit. And then along the way, when Veronica starts sniffing around about where did this money go, Ted says, oh, it's for Jabberwocky. You know what that is, right? And then Veronica asks her boss, and then everybody at the company's talking about it. And all of that I think was really great. And then it culminates in this scene where Veronica's like, what? Jabberwocky's fake? Well, we have to present it to everybody in 10 minutes. And Ted's like, what? Oh, no. And then they go and do the presentation. And to me, at that point, I think it really just starts to feel like we really wanted to watch Portia de Rossi and
Jay Harrington.
Mr. Handsome. Thank you, Jay Harrington.
Oh, Mr. Handsome. No, his full name is Mr. Handsome.
Jay, Mr. Handsome Harrington.
Yeah.
We just want to watch them like stand on the stage and sort of boop around and do funny jokes. And at that point, it's like, okay, you're like, to me, it felt like they were overselling the satire to the point of it being kind of farcical.
Right.
And it sort of loses what I think was like biting and interesting about this conversation.
The Jabberwocky project.
About the Jabberwocky
True.
project and what that can do to people in a corporate environment, and just like the base level anxiety that everybody has in an environment like that.
Yeah, I think you are right in that there's a certain amount of escalation that happens with this concept that forces everyone to turn into idiots that you can't really identify with, versus
Right.
like a very identifiable anxiety with that is, oh yeah, totally, I know that.
Right.
So I see that. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen, there's a little film by the name of Spider-Man, and in that film, at one point, Peter Parker pauses the screen and says, "Hey, that's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation," and then the time resumes.
Oh my god, I can't believe you made such a genius connection to Spider-Man.
I do my best. That's what they pay me the big bucks for, right?
I can't believe you did.
And so that's what the framing device is trying to be, where it's like them on stage, as if that's like a horribly compromising position for Ted, who's a business professional. So like, why is him being on stage like a crazy scenario? It's not.
He loves the stage.
He's a man of the stage, and all of it is to build up to him just doing this like song and dance with Veronica, being like, "It's Jabberwocky. You guys all know what it is. It's an amazing, innovative product," and we use all the buzzwords, and like that stuff lands, I think, okay.
Yeah.
I kind of like, I almost disagree with him, John, a little bit in that the payoff is sort of worth it, because what is Jabberwocky? It's buzzwords, and I know I talked about this a couple weeks ago, but you know, look at any job, like remote work job description these days at a tech company, and it's going to sound like this Jabberwocky presentation where it's like, we're innovating and disrupting the industry of life.
Yeah.
You're like,
Totally. I think that's very true, and I think there's room for that, for those jokes in this episode. It's like, why couldn't they have made like a corporate video that gets passed around that just like builds more hype? It's almost like they escalated it in the wrong direction or something.
Mm-hmm. I think it just, the show, so I agree with you, Alan, that like those are the parts of it that I liked, where they're like, how do you redefine with a new definition or whatever like that. I thought that was pretty funny.
Well, and that's because the show is just clever. Like, they do that.
Yeah.
They're just good at those things.
But I think it ends up like rubbing me a weird way, the way that like sometimes The Office or Parks and Rec or, you know, Brooklyn Nine-Nine or whatever do in the same way, where they're just so fond of their characters to the point where it almost undercuts like the point of the episode, kind of, because then I think it also could have been okay if it was a presentation, but the fact that like Ted and Veronica are like doing whisper commentary to each other and there's no comeuppance and it goes perfectly, and it's like, what? That's why didn't Ted face any consequence for lying to the whole company? Or I don't know. I guess it's a satire show that's not supposed to be totally realistic.
No, but think about the ending that could have happened, which is everyone realizes all at once that Jabberwocky doesn't exist. Like, that would have been a much more interesting thing, and like Ted has to face some kind of consequence and then saves it with something from the roof garden. I don't know.
Yeah.
Sure.
The roof garden did end up sort of feeling like completely disjointed from the
like
rest,
going into this, I really thought that something about the roof garden was going to turn into, he's like, it's glowing grapes. That's Project Jabberwocky. You know?
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
Oh, I do have to say something. One of my favorite like jokes, one of my favorite things about this show is how it loves talking about things going mad. I think the way it uses the joke of he went mad, I think is really funny, because you don't hear about things going mad so often. I think we really should more. And I think the squirrel going mad because it was glowing all the time and couldn't sleep. It made me laugh so hard.
So dark.
Oh my god.
Wow, that's dark. Yeah.
It was so funny. Or even in the pilot where...
Oh yeah, go ahead.
In the pilot where they make the very uncomfy chairs, and they keep making them more and more uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Still
make
one of the
people more
best
and more
jokes in the show.
productive
Yeah.
Until someone goes mad.
Well, and there's another
And I
reference
think
to
it's just
someone...
my favorite.
Yeah.
It's just my favorite thing to hear Jay Harrington say is that he went mad.
There's also a little joke earlier where he's trying to get Linda to like not take on the responsibility of the greening thing, and he's like, well, just think about like Steve or whatever, and then he makes like finger guns to, I guess, indicate that the dude like went mad and tried to shoot up the office or something.
I'm disappointed that you don't remember the name
Yeah.
because he does say the guy's name is Alan.
Alan, that's what it
Oh.
was.
That's my name, and I'm that person.
Oh, you're right.
Because they do it like 4 or 5 times. It becomes a runner where they're like, "Oh, don't be like Alan," and I'm like, "I'm Alan."
So that's like kind of a similar but slightly different thing, I guess. Yeah, so that's like the Jabberwocky stuff. I did like the guys in the cubicle talking about it too, where the one guy's like, "Oh man, I need a winner. Like my wife is I don't know, sick or something." It's so dramatic. And then Veronica's boss, who is one of those guys that I thought I recognized, and I really do think I've seen him before, and I have no idea what I've seen him in.
Mm-hmm.
But he had some great delivery on like, yeah, I know what it is too. He was like, exactly. So we both know what it is. That stuff was
The
good.
line earlier that you're referencing when they're going by the guys in the office is one of them's like, "Oh, Jabberwocky is a game changer, bro," and he meekly goes, "Just once in my life, I'd like to change a game." That's a high five in the writers' room. I say that a lot,
Yeah.
but you know what I mean when I say that. Like that's
Yeah.
just a good one.
I think I liked to go back on to what you were saying a bit ago, that this episode is framed a little bit differently than your typical Better Off Ted episode, because we're dropped in medias res into the presentation or just before it, and then Ted's like, well, let me go back a little bit. It's framed in a different way, and I kind of wish every episode was framed like this, sort of, because to me it gave his asides a little bit more spice to them. Maybe part of it is because he was like lying to everybody and telling us the truth. But I also kind of liked interpreting his asides. Like normally I interpret them as him kind of giving us his inner monologue or his like initial reactions to something. But I interpreted in this episode as that being his narrator voice, kind of poking through into the scene. To kind of like tell us what he was thinking at the time. And it makes it fun because then he's like, yeah, and I totally went up to her and told her the truth, right? And then he lies and he's like, I couldn't help it. Come on, what do you want me to do? It made the story more, I don't know, compelling to me, that there was that slight reframe on what the Ted narration is in the fiction of the show. But maybe I'm imagining that difference. I don't know.
No, it's a bit of like making you the co-conspirator in Ted's
Right.
half of the story, right? I
Right.
think that's what works. No, but I think, yeah, even the setup for the Jabberwocky project is very funny. This reminds us, too, that Linda does matter to Ted. He still cares a lot about this person.
Yeah, he has a crush on her still. It's
Right.
now for sure.
And, there's something about, like, I want my crush to have the roof garden that she deserves, and he's doing it for her and not for the fact that what she's doing it for, which is like she wants the green Viridian Dynamics, which is another one of those things where they kind of frame it like, who the frick cares about like greening our office? And like the amount of waste that comes out of your average office space, especially in 2009, is so astronomical because they haven't like completely nailed down paperless stuff. It is a useful endeavor to try and to like make a garden. It's a
true.
small little thing you can do, but it's a good idea. And as she mentions, it can even save you costs on like AC and stuff because because of what you're growing up there. So I thought it was weird that they were like, ugh, why would we want to spend money on a greenhouse? That's so stupid. And she's like, no, it's just like I want 3
Right.
plants.
It does show a difference of the culture even then. I think that it was seen as like green. All right, like electric
Whatever.
cars are poison, Like
Yeah,
they're
no,
just
absolutely.
bad.
I
Right.
don't love Tesla as a company, and I definitely don't like Elon Musk as a person. But I am in favor of us switching from regular to hybrid to
Right.
eventually
Just
all
kind of
electric.
like the general acceptance of greenness is a lot more, especially on a corporate level. Actually, like it's what that's a good. Actually, what you pointed out, Alan, is the difference between corporate culture then and corporate culture now is that all corporate culture now purports to be green and at least and actually does execute it somewhat.
It's a
Right.
bragging point now. Is like we've achieved a certain amount of like eco stability, which at the time is like who cares?
But in 2009, it was something as simple as like, oh, people know that maybe global warming is probably something to worry about, so we're just gonna say it's like the kind of the height of when people started slapping like green and organic and whatever on things. Like that Viridian Dynamics ad at the beginning is pretty funny because when they're like, yeah, we take care of nature, even when it's being a little bit mean.
Yeah.
That was good.
Or annoying. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
but
that was fun.
but the show again does have kind of like a casualness to it, because also like greening things at the time, I think the goal of that was so imprecise. You know, it was just sort of like, oh yeah, we'll make a rooftop garden, but like,
Right.
why?
All natural.
Why?
Right.
Why is that the focus exactly?
I do. I have to share just a quick, very short anecdote, and that's that I
Please.
picked up a bag of walnuts today,
Mhm.
and I looked on the back, a bag of Kroger Simple Truth walnuts,
Yep.
and it said on the back, it said free from over 100 artificial chemicals.
Oh my god.
Wow, that's so specific.
They were like, when we were making
Which-
these babies, we had so
Look
many
at all-
options.
Look at all the stuff we didn't put into these walnuts, and
So
there's
weird.
these unsalted walnuts, and
How are the walnuts, Arthur?
raw.
Oh,
They were not even roasted.
Rah.
Raw unsalted walnuts.
Ugh.
That's fine.
Yeah, but they went pretty well because my roommate made banana bread. So
oh, now you're talking.
You put
now
the
you're
walnuts in the banana bread.
roommate of my pod. Matt.
Mm.
cooking. Roommate in my pod.
What are the initials on that roommate? Which roommate is that?
That's MJ.
Oh, that's MJ. That's cool. Good for
Oh, Michael Jordan is your
MJ.
roommate,
Mary Jane from Spider-Man.
That's right.
and that's 3, and now it's a running
We did
gag.
it.
It's incredible.
Yeah, we did it.
Pizza time.
Right.
Someday I want to tell somebody that's talking to me and I don't feel like listening to them that I'm going through a tunnel and I can't hear them.
That's so funny. Oh my god.
Veronica does that to one of the
Portia de
employees.
Rossi
That
does
was
so
very
well
good.
with that delivery. That's
Oh
really
my
good.
god, it was so good. Yeah, she's just like, I'm going through a tunnel. I can't hear you. I'm sorry. And she's just standing in front of me. He's like, I don't.
And
What are you
it would work in real life too. Like if you were that worker and she was your boss and she said it with that much confidence, you would
You'd be like,
you would not know
Like,
what to do with yourself.
Okay.
yes. It's that ties back into the sort of theme of the episode, right? Which is like it's kind of just how you say things that can convince people in these environments. Like,
Yeah.
what's a game changer and what's revolutionary, and people will take any sort of new, hip, fashionable idea if it makes them sound important. Whether
and
it's
it's almost like a running theme of the show. This sort of like the tone or the way of saying something is more so what creates the effect than like the actual words that you say, which is such a truism of like corporate culture, I would say. Like the one episode where Veronica tries to let her hair down and then she ties her hair back and she's like, they're listening to the hair. Or when Ted's trying to tell Linda how to be a good boss and he's like, it's about tone, like people are like animals or whatever. Like it's a theme that the show is returning to over and over again, which I think is interesting.
yeah. Arthur, you were gonna say something earlier.
I forgot.
It's gone.
It's gone.
I feel like I'm learning as a podcaster exactly the time it takes for somebody to lose a point. Sometimes I'll still go for it because some people have like really good short-term memory, but then most people I'm like, no, I feel like you lost it. It's fine. That's not your fault.
I looked up the weather actually. And
Oh, perfect.
How's the weather
it's,
doing?
Well, it says unhealthy for sensitive groups,
Oh, no.
which is kind of the new normal here
Oh,
in the
no.
Los Angeles.
Oh.
Yeah.
Thanks, West Coast. We love you. No, I sincerely do, but it's been a bad spot right now.
There's some great Veronica lines in this one. Sorry.
Yeah.
Just
No,
Oh,
go for
I
it.
remember what I was
Okay,
going to say now.
to... Okay, well.
It was about Veronica.
Okay, go ahead.
Portia de la... How do you say it?
Portia de Rossi.
De Rossi, not Della Rossi.
Portia of the Rossi.
Portia de la Rossi. Portia de Rossi, I feel like if I had only seen Better Off Ted or Arrested Development, I would have said she could only be good in that role and nothing else.
Interesting.
And now that I've seen her in both, I feel like, wow, she could only be good in either of those two roles and nothing else.
They have a similarity, right? Lindsay and
They do.
and Veronica. I mean, they're obviously different in terms of like Lindsay is just a complete mess and like more openly self-conscious, I think. But they both generally are like, this is a gorgeous woman who like is very confident, but also like cannot have functional emotions in the right way.
Right.
And then it's just a difference of like how that's executed in the show.
Yeah. But the difference is competency, I guess. In Better Off Ted, she's actually
Right.
like
It's also
smart.
yeah. She delivers things so well. Like, it's so good in this series that they have Degrassi as a character actress who is just confidence. I think it's really just like a confidence and like an energy behind your line readings that sells everything she does. I know, John, you were going to reference one of her lines. I hope it's not the same one, but when she talks about hiring James Earl Jones to do the commercial,
It's a different one.
and she's like, yeah, I just imagine him going, Jabberwocky, and you get to hear Portia de Rossi do a flawless one-word impression of James Earl Jones. It's like, whoa,
That was great.
Yeah.
that had to be several takes. That's too good. That's way too good.
She's really fun.
Mhm.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate her.
The line that I was going to reference is
More?
when she's saying that greening the building is one of the company's dreams. And then Ted's like, well, they aren't working towards it. And she's like, are you working towards all of your dreams, Ted? Then stop pointing fingers. That I felt that line. That got me.
Brutal, bodied. Ted's dead. Ted's better off dead now. But yeah, that's generally where this comes from. I think it's a very good like Veronica episode, and we get a little bit of Phil and Lem in this. I believe it's Lem who's talking about his mom a couple times and how his mom is like, she really wants him to get into Jabberwocky, and then. And so both of his parents do, and then at one point when Ted is like, you guys aren't on Jabberwocky, it's not real, and he's like, when my dad hears you didn't put us on when my mom hears you didn't put us on Jabberwocky, she's gonna change the locks. And it's like, I cannot deliver that as well as Malcolm Merritt does, but it seems like genuine panic. He's like, it's gonna happen now.
Yeah, I'm curious what you guys think about those two, because there's times when I really love them a lot, and there's other times when I feel like and it's less the characters and more like I feel like the joke writing on these two isn't up to the level of some other parts of the show.
That's interesting because in the first half I was kind of saying the opposite, but I do think it's them as actors who really close the gap. Like,
right,
they have, I think out of everybody on the show, they have maybe the strongest mastery of their characters. Although Jay Harrington, I think, does a really great job delivering things in a very particular way that maybe goes underappreciated because he's like a straight man character. I think that they're wonderful actors, but sometimes, they do sort of end up being like the joke characters in a way where...
Right. It's like they're funniest when they're like not trying to be the joke characters almost. Like the mom, I mean, obviously it's a joke, but the mom thing was so funny as this running gag.
Yeah.
And like a thing this episode that was less funny to me was them storming in. They're like, too mean? That felt too mean. Like, that felt too...
Yeah, that wasn't
like,
that funny. That was also had a hint of, like, why are we making jokes about the black guy being too aggressive exactly? Like,
yeah.
that feels a little tone deaf.
It's not twice that. Well, the first one was deliberately. It was in the racism episode, where the joke is that he's afraid that he's being too aggressive because he's trying to appeal to stop having racist censors everywhere. But yeah.
Yeah, but in this one, it's the same gag, but without that context. So
Right.
yeah, but I mean, I think they're most fun when you really invest in the fact that they like know each other inside and out, and they like can almost read each other's minds, and that
them as best friends is
very
so
good.
funny. It's so great. Yeah, I think them as sort of a, I guess, faux couple, like having friendship marital issues is always entertaining and fun.
The Plove stuff, I was like, that's fine. You invented a hot plate. I guess that's funny.
The fact that they brought it back one more time at the end, really briefly, he's like, "Oh, did you need a plove? Do you want to put that in a plove?" And it's like, okay, you remembered your own joke. I'm proud of you, but
Right. I guess that was in this one where there's like 5 running jokes with those two, and 3 of them really made me laugh, and 2 of them, I was just, it's back.
Yeah, it's not a bad hit rate though.
No, again, this show compared to.
hits way more than it misses.
Yeah, compared to most of what's around, or most of what was around then, even.
It's really funny to me that they say Jabberwocky coming in 2012, and that's the joke. Is like we just worked on like hyping up this project that's never gonna come out, and it comes out in 3 years, and we are like, haha, 2012. The world was gonna end in 2012, guys. Remember there was all those like apocalypse theories and stuff.
Yeah, I remember.
Good times.
The Mayans.
A simpler time when we thought that the world was going to end to natural causes. I really liked just probably my favorite like thematic thing in this episode, because I don't think that there's like a skippable episode of Better Off Ted so far, but some of them have more like thematic meat to chew on than other ones. Is that Linda at the end kind of like applauds Ted for bringing all the stuff to the garden and like getting to spy luminescent bugs, which is really beautiful. But what she's basically saying is she's like, I'm happy you finally stole from the company for me, which is what she was doing at the beginning of the show, which was like not stealing things for him, but stealing things from the company. So it's actually in line with her character so far and showing growth between the two of them. Then now he's like, oh, I can steal things for you. I can like, divert funds for you. So he cares about her more than just having a crush and thinking about her sexually like he was in the beginning. Now he's like, oh, I actually want to further your goals in life.
That's a good point. This is a very different Ted than the one who, when she was stealing creamer, he went out and bought creamer himself.
Right, and refilled the bowl.
To refill the bowl, I was sort of bothered that was so wrapped up in her being like, wow, you stole from the company for me. You're my thief in shining armor. Like, oh, Ted. Like this sort of, I don't know, hetero chivalry stuff was just a little weird, but I agree with you that I like that Ted is going in that direction and sort of seeing like you can bend the rules and be human and do the right thing, even if it's not the right thing in the eyes of the company.
Right. I thought it was funny. It's not often that you see like a hug interrupted the same way a kiss is interrupted.
Yes.
So
yeah.
I found that very funny when they're about they come in for a hug the way 2 people would come in for a kiss and be interrupted, and then they're like, oh, when someone comes in. I thought that was kind of a subtle, fun twist.
Yeah, and also that she's like, if we're about to hug, you're starting it, which is like also kind of like, in a sexier moment, it would be like, are we about to kiss right now?
Yeah.
But yeah, that is funny. I wonder what happens to these crazy kids.
I hope they're going to get together. We know that for a fact.
Well, you never know.
You were talking about the credits cutting off awkwardly for you. I missed this entire gag about the Japanese office. Can somebody explain what was going on there to me?
Oh, okay.
In the post-credits tag?
Right. Is this me?
Yeah, I mean,
Am I
you're
doing it?
speaking. Go for it.
Yeah, go for it.
Sure, I am talking already. Okay, so at the end, corporate is so excited about the Jabberwocky project that they ship it to Japan to fast track it, their Japan office,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a subtitled scene between the Japanese lab team and the Japanese administrator, and he hands him a file and has one piece of paper in it. And he's like, here's your new project, the Jabberwocky project. And the lab guy's like, is there anything missing? And he's like, no, that's the whole thing. Duh, obviously. Don't you know? And he's like, oh, yeah, I just think it would have been even better with an additional page, but it's great how it is. And then the scene ends.
Oh, okay. That's not hysterical, but I'm looking back at it, and it's like, okay, that's fun that we got reminding us that Viridian Dynamics has a Japanese branch. I guess I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I think it would have been funnier if the episode before that had gone in a different direction, like we had talked about.
Right.
But it was fun.
Yeah, that's what I got for this episode. Do we have any other stray notes or thoughts?
No, I was kind of surprised that this is one of the more referenced ones when people talk about their favorite episodes of Better Off Ted. I do think that the project actually being fake is just a great concept. On paper,
It's a very
you can sell that out.
very memorable premise. Yeah.
Yeah, but the fact that this episode is talked about in the same breath as the racism one, I'm like, one of these is very funny, and one of these is doing it. It's okay. So.
Right. I think it's just very conceptual again, so it's very easy to pitch.
Yes. Yeah.
If you're telling your friend about it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is an episode where they come up with a plan, and it's not a real plan, and everyone believes them, and it's funny. You should watch it. It's on Netflix. Please binge it. But that's what we got, Magellan. Can you do me a favor and tell me what we're watching next time on Better Off Chats?
Okay,
please?
well, sure. Well, next time we are going to close out our coverage of Better Off Ted Season 1 by talking about Episode 13 of Season 1. Episode 13 is entitled Secrets and Lives.
Well,
Not lies, but lives. A new Viridian invention accidentally reveals Veronica's secret life. I mean, that just sounds good.
that just sounds fantastic. Yeah.
That sounds good.
Veronica-centric? I'm into it.
Yeah, she must have a secret family or something.
That sounds
God,
really
I hope
fun.
so.
I actually have not watched that yet in either of my watches of the show.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Now's the time.
So I'm
I
gonna
hope we
watch
get new outfits in season 2. I'm not trying to say I hope, new theme song and new character. This is not one of those kind of dramas, but I want new outfits. That's a simple ask.
it. Yeah. Kind of like an anime way where
Exactly like an anime way where it's the mecha
the
and they're
same-
24 episodes in and
I'm
Right.
pulling for new hair. I'd love to see some
Yeah.
new hair.
new hair, same color scheme, new clothes. That's what we want. It's all the
That's
same
the fourth-
colors.
that's
but
the
it's-
15th chapter of my memoir, Arthur. It's called Same Color Scheme, New Clothes. And you'll have to read it to find out what it's about. But thank you, Arthur, for joining us on this half of the episode and for
Yeah.
sticking through some snafus, but we made it through it.
Yeah, it's the snafus that make life
World
worth
go round. Oh,
snaffing.
snaff.
Yeah, no, it was great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Would you like to plug anything? And also, would you have, by any chance, a chat some for us and the dear listeners?
That's the recommendation thing I talked about before.
Right. I fairly forgot to think of
Okay,
one.
just tell us about your podcast, and then we'll plug
Okay.
our podcast, and then we'll all do our chatsums together as a family.
There you go.
Okay, that sounds good. Then I'll have something by then. Okay. Yeah, so I have a podcast also, which Magellan and Alan were just on. It's called Full Metal Analysts, and it is a episode by episode watch through of Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, the anime. It's really fun. It's turned into something that I really like and enjoy, and it's me and two other writers from USC, and we have all kinds of cool guests. We're having a UFC fighter on soon, which is going to be pretty wild and fun. Voice actors, YouTubers. It's just going to be, it's a good time. So hop on over. You can follow us at FM Analysts or you can follow me on Twitter at Arthur Eula.
It's Arthur
IULA.
IULA. There you go.
Thank you.
Dope. If you want to, to follow this show that you're already listening to, and you want to hear all the plugs for us, you can get in touch with us on social in a couple ways. You can email us, chatspod@gmail.com, with your questions, comments, whatever, suggestions, anything like that. You can follow us and DM us on Twitter at ChatzPod. And you can also join a group of listeners listening through old episodes of Chatz, a Television Podcast, over at our subreddit, reddit.com/r/chatspod. All of those are spelled CHATZPOD. But if you want to support the show in a financial way, you can do so over at our Patreon, patreon.com/chatspod. And you can back us at $1, $3, or $5 a month. $1 is pretty much the hey, I like you guys tier, and we'll do some sort of random bonus episodes at that tier here and then. I also have my ongoing solo coverage of the X-Files called the Chatz Files. That's available at $1. At $3 a month, you get access to our regular 3 times per month bonus content, which could include us piloting new shows, us doing other sort of discussions, or us doing movie commentaries. And then at $5 a month, you get access to all of the backlog of Patreon stuff. You get most of it at $3, but all of it at $5. And there might be some things that we do just for $5 people. We're not really settled on that, but $5 is mostly like you love us a lot and you like to support us, and we appreciate it. So that's the Patreon. And then we always end episodes of Chatz by opening up the jar, the pickle jar, the Chatsums jar. Arthur, these are called Chatsums because Vlasic pickles.
Snackums?
Vlasic oh my God, you know Snackums?
Oh, I know Snackums.
Hell yeah. So we decided to name our little media recommendations Chatsums because they're the Vlasic Snackums of our podcast coverage here. So who wants to take the first Chatsum for this week for the folks? Alan, you want to do it?
I do want to do it. I'd love to.
Okay.
So mine's twofold. Both of them are related to music, but I can be expeditious here. One of them, I've been catching up now that I'm really caught up on podcasts, because rightfully all of my regular weekly podcasts are slowing down releases due to other things going on. So I'm listening to albums from 2020 that I stopped listening. Basically, I was going through, I sorted my Spotify album list by order of release, and for some reason, everything I added from March onwards, I just haven't touched. I don't know what's been going on since March.
That's funny.
I don't know. It's a mystery. If anyone knows why I stopped listening to music in March, please just text me or something. I won't give you my number, but text me. And the first one, not the first one, but definitely the best standout from that batch of albums was by an artist who I just discovered recently after a lot of hype, named Rina Sawayama. She is a really unique and cool artist. Kind of hard to classify genre-wise. Her newest album, it's called Sawayama, Sawayama, on all caps, is kind of every genre. There's like some heavy metal in there. There's some like Carly Rae Jepsen pop. There's some like techno. It's a little electronic. There's some more progressive alt rock. It's all over the place. It's very hard-hitting, energizing. It really like galvanized me last week and got me moving around more around the office, and I loved it. I honestly like forgot how good music can be this year outside of K-pop. Hello. But definitely check out Rina Sawayama if you haven't already, because she's doing really cool stuff. And speaking of music criticism, part of the reason I don't like I listen to plenty of music, but I struggle to like come up with good words to talk about it critically, is I don't have a lot of experience with like reading music crit outside of the occasional Pitchfork review. And I used to watch what's his fucking face, Anthony Fantasmo on YouTube. Anthony Fantano, I think. But yeah, I found a music critic recently on YouTube who I'm really I'm really into her writing style. Her YouTube channel is just called Mera, Mera, and she does K-pop critique. specifically from a Western perspective and it's like a queer Western perspective. So obviously just be aware of that. But I love the way that she can describe songs and describe a mood that you didn't think you had in a way that's like honestly pretty poetic. Perfect example, she was talking about the newest Blackpink record and specifically the song Lovesick Girls. And at one point in her review, she describes it as like, I can't get the wording exactly right, but like moving to New York by yourself, you're a lonely girl, you're just off of your first breakup and you're crying on the roof because he left you and you know that you deserve better and you're in your best outfit and all your makeup's melted off. And it's like, oh shit. Like, oh God. Nobody in my life has literally experienced that, but everyone can kind of feel that emotion. And I think it's a really useful, it's a specific way, but a really useful way to talk about music, especially when it's like not in your native language, to be like, oh, this is how it makes me feel. So definitely check her stuff out if you're into sort of like less traditional criticism and want to try something new.
Nice.
Her channel is called Mera. Yeah.
Arthur, you have one?
Yeah. So it's actually funny you mentioned Reina because I know Reina not from her music, but by her presence as a host of Terrace House.
Oh shit! Really?
That's
Yeah.
so funny.
Yeah, and she's great. She's awesome. She like provides, if it is indeed the Reina that I'm thinking of. I don't know. There's 2 pop stars called Reina, but yeah, she's really fun and funny also as a person.
Oh no, it's not the same one. Aw,
Shoot. Damn it!
I'm gonna give you points though. I don't know what the points do, but you can spend them at any local Walmart.
Really? Do I
Yeah.
just go up to any employee?
Just say yes, I have points. I have Reina points, and then they'll know what you're talking about. Look for Bill.
Okay, cool. Look
He
for
knows
Bill. He's in any Walmart at
I'm
different
sure
times.
if at any Walmart you just shouted, Bill,
Hey, Bill.
Someone would look.
someone.
Bill?
Yeah.
So you get someone, yeah.
All right. Okay. So forget all of that.
Terrace House, good show.
Yes. So I've been. I just finished reading 5th Season by N.K. Jemisin, which I thought was really good.
What's it about?
It's a fantasy. It's the opening is really cool because it talks about how this is the story of the end of the world and how the world has ended before and and things regrow and blah blah blah, and the end is never really the end, except this is the story of the last time that the world ends, which I thought was a really cool way to open a book. And it is a fantasy book with like a really interesting magic system where it's sort of geology based, where people can sense the earth and manipulate the earth, and but at the same time it gets into other interesting themes because those people are really ostracized and often murdered by as soon as people discover that they have these powers. And the first book is divided into 3 different characters, all sort of at different life stages. It seems like totally different times in the world, and one of the characters doesn't have a name that because it is entirely in second person, which is a gimmick that I actually kind of hate normally. But this book does it so well that it made me like it. And yeah, it's cool to read, a book in the fantasy genre that is like by a black author and like uses that in a cool way, and won a bunch of awards, and it's really good. You should read it. And there's a twist that I can't tell you, but it's sort of
spicy.
It's a twist in the whole thing of what the book is.
I love this.
Very cool.
I we read an N.K. Jemisin short story on an old pod, now no longer with us podcast. No longer with us. I don't know how words work. We read another N.K. Jemisin short story on Fireside Friends, the now defunct podcast that I used to host with some other friends. And we almost had her on the podcast. We
Oh,
the
cool.
scheduling didn't work out, but yeah. NK is also a really great like Twitter follow, and she's like a Twitch streamer
She's
and
very
stuff.
good.
She's really cool, and I wholeheartedly I co-recommend anything by her. So
Yeah.
very cool. The 5th season.
She's great. 5th season, N.K. Jemisin. The other thing I just read was Devil in the White City, which is, if you like historical nonfiction, just a rollicking good time about the Chicago Columbian World Exposition in 1898, and also H.H. Holmes, the murderer who built his big famous murder hotel and murdered people throughout the whole fair.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, have you not read that, Magellan?
No, I've had it recommended to me many times.
Eric Larson, baby.
Yeah.
I've had it recommended to me, but I haven't read it.
So those are 2 books that I've had recommended to me multiple times over many years and finally just read this past month.
Nice.
So I recommend them both.
Sweet.
And show, I recommend the anime Space Brothers, which I've been rewatching.
Ooh.
And it's super fun. It's the most understated anime that I've ever seen. It's just about 2 brothers who
In space.
want to go to space, even. And they're just like signing up for NASA and going through training. And it's about the younger brother is already an astronaut, and the older brother feels left behind and wants to live up to his younger brother and stay ahead. And he's such a lovable yet like completely flawed protagonist. Like he's kind of like a little bit petty and jealous, but it's rare that you see a protagonist like that who you also like really have a lot of affection for. So Space Brothers.
I dig it. Is that a 3-peat? Is that the first legendary Chatz guest 3-peat? That's incredible, Arthur.
Really?
The triple Chatsum.
Wow,
Cool.
there you go. I've got a quick one, just one this time around. It's for a YouTube channel called Girlfriend Reviews, and the premise is that it's this woman who does video reviews of like kind of video essays almost, I guess, of the backseat gaming experience watching her boyfriend play various games. But they like make the videos together, and it's really adorable, and she's really funny, and they're both really funny. And they're quick. They're like 10-minute things, and you're like, oh, I'll watch another, and then you'll watch the whole channel's worth of stuff in like a week, and then you'll be sad. So Girlfriend Reviews is good.
Cool.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Sounds cool.
it's fun.
Oh wow! I just found out what they look like. I've never watched a face reveal video before this in my life. Holy crap! You ever think people just look the way you think they do? Wow.
Yeah, they do look exactly like you think they would look.
Wow, very cool.
Yeah.
The guy looks like a default if you hit random on a character creator. in an
Oh,
MMO.
come on.
Oh,
He's cute.
come on.
He's a cute guy.
He's cute enough. He'll do for now. Anyways, guys, thank you again for all the wonderful chat sims. Thank you to Arthur for joining us on this episode of Chatz Pod. The Chatz Pod. Better Off Chats. Arthur, I love
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I was looking at Girlfriend Reviews. Yeah, you're welcome for being here, and thank you guys for having me. It was super fun.
That's awesome.
For sure. Thank you as always to Magellan for being the rock to my hard place, especially now more than ever. Good luck out there, everyone. Take care of yourselves. Stay safe. And thank you for listening to this episode of Better Off Chats. Peace.
Fuck down, try.